Yo, what's up? It's your boy Dave Life. I got my homeboy Zenos in the building, and this is the breakdown. So, Z, you wanted to talk about last night, some things that were missed, man. So I think you should just get right into it, man. What did we miss on the show last night?
Yeah, I feel like we didn't even really get into the topic as much as we needed to, as much as we wanted to. And I'll say this, two things that really stood out to me. One was the picture you posted at the end. We never really got to talk about that as much as I wanted to, or I didn't really get to comment. But the main thing is, man, the journey is a call to go solo. I think a lot of times we want people to come with us. We want that community. But unfortunately, a lot of the roles that we're looking to get into have to be filled as individuals by
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. There can only be one Michael Jackson. We mentioned that last night. There can only be one Michael Jordan. So when Mike gets a scholarship offer, you can't split that amongst two people or three people. That's just for Mike. So he has to go alone. He has to do that alone. Um, the second thing, man, is you got to start the journey. And this is really the big part. So when I mentioned last night about my cousin and the comments she made, I think for the most part, she was really just saying, start the journey. And then when you said, hey, I'm looking for a mentor, you find the mentor on the journey. You find the pieces that you need when you go on the journey by yourself.
Mm-hmm. For those that don't know, we're talking about, we're breaking down concepts that we talked about last night on the episode about um, stop carrying dead weight and wanting to be mentored versus someone that doesn't have the initiative to start. There's a difference, and I think we didn't get a chance to cover that last night, so that's why we're here on a breakdown discussing it. So go ahead and continue with your breakdown. A mentor versus someone that don't have initiative.
Well, the main thing is the journey is where you find everything you need. Even in writing, we call that the hero's journey. The hero goes out to start a quest reluctantly at first, but then they find the sage, the guardian, the magician, or whatever they need for their journey in order to complete it. But they never would have found those pieces if they didn't start the journey. And so the picture you showed, I think, kind of echoed that, where you were talking about the glass ceiling. And I think you had a picture of four people underneath, kind of looking at the ceiling, talking about, there it is. That fifth person was starting the journey.
Mm.
That's where they were going to find the mentor, the sage, the different things that she needed in the case of the pick to go to the next chapter. So I think a lot of times we just have to start, feel the fear, and do it anyway, is what I used to hear somebody say back when I was in college. Yep, that's it. So there's community under the glass ceiling. There's community, there's bonding, there's relationship. Girl, you see this ceiling keeping us down? Yep. Girl, you see the white man? Girl, you see the men, the patriarchy holding us back? Meanwhile, the other person's like, let me start. Let me go. I can't be in a class with all men. That's hard. I can't be in a school with all white people. That's hard. The other person, let me start.
That's a great point. And that's what I do think we overlooked last night, is that she found a way. For those that don't know, that may be listening to the audio, it's a glass ceiling. Really, it's a cement ceiling, and it's four ladies stuck under the ceiling. Some don't even realize it's a ceiling. Some do, but they're not trying to do anything, and then some are trying to get through it. But then there was one young lady, the fifth lady, that found the ladder through the skylight in the ceiling, and she was moving upward. And I think the idea is that she found her upward mobility, and she was moving forward. So
Right.
I think, yeah, finding a way. Yeah, I think there's something to that. But I want you to continue to break it down, Doc. Why do some people don't start because they lack the initiative? Why do some people want a handhold or a mentor, and others are self-starters, no mentor, they just go for it? Like, why is that?
I think there's a lot of different reasons for different people. But I think the biggest thing is comfort. I know a lot of people talk about fear of failure a lot. I don't subscribe to that notion as much because I think there's comfort in where we are. Human beings are the only animal. I know we're not animals, but the point is we can find comfort where we are.
Some of us
Lions,
animals. Some of us animals.
savages. Lions have to hunt daily. There is no option to take the day off.
Mhm.
And most days they don't find food. Then they might find that gazelle and they all eat. The
Right.
gazelle has to run, wake up every day running. And so for us, we don't have that. We can find comfort in, right? The bondage, or I'm sorry, the connections that exist in that group, in that picture
It
that
could be
say,
a bondage.
well,
It
sure,
could
it
be
is.
the comfort of the crew,
Yes.
the comfort
There you
of the
go.
team, the
Yep.
comfort of we might make a Michael Jackson only stay in the Jackson
Jackson
5
5. Yep.
instead of jumping out and trying his hand at a solo career. But I say bondage because we can get bound by our own comfort zones.
Oh, yeah.
We can get bound by familiarity. We can get bound by things that we really need to let go of, man. In order to go to college, especially when you go off to college, in order to go to college, you got to leave.
Leave home.
You got to leave home. You can't stay at home in Lithonia, Georgia, in Birmingham, in Chicago, in LA, and get out there. Like, you have to leave. Even getting married, you have to leave and cleave as a husband.
Right. Right.
So I think there's something that we gotta focus on, man. We gotta focus on the idea that you have to leave. There is a comfort in numbers, but that comfort can hold us back from reaching our potential. And I think the breakdown of it is Michael Jackson had to leave the comfort of the Jackson 5 in order for him to become the Thriller.
The king of pop. No doubt.
I
No
agree.
doubt.
What else did we miss?
That's it. But just echoing on that same comment, man, we were talking about dead weight and people holding you back. I think the mistake we make sometimes is thinking it's a group journey because
Mm.
sometimes those people aren't ready to receive the help yet.
Mm.
But if LeBron, Michael Jackson, you, me, whoever, if we go ahead and go to the top, then we're even in better position to reach back. But if you're trying to take people with you along the way, you're burning relationships because you're like Obama said, Michelle said, you're not ready to come with me. Well, they never were. Just go ahead and go, Michelle. Then when you're the first lady, then you can say, hey, Sandra, remember you wanted to start that bakery business? Let me go ahead and invest in that. Instead of trying to do it at the same time while you're trying to become the president.
Yeah, and the thing is, I hope Sandra has taken some time to study about business and baking while I'm on the rise to becoming the president or the first lady. Please don't wait on me to carry you. And I think that's where I was last night. I was like, yo, man, please, people, just don't wait on someone to carry you. And for those that are doing the carrying, stop carrying people. Like, if they show effort, then please absolutely invest in them. But you can't invest if you're not there yet. If you have not reached a level, you can't reach back. That's one point. The other point is, don't reach back to people that have no desire to be on their own. Listen to what Michelle said. This is what people might have missed last night.
That there are people who they were built for the climb like we were, and some weren't. And one of the toughest things is to find out that a dear friend wasn't ready for the climb. In order to keep pressing forward, sometimes you got to leave them there, because you can't carry people when you're trying to get to the top.
And that's what you just said. You can't carry them when you're trying to get to the top. Imagine trying to carry a 100-pound man up a ladder. You're trying to go up a ladder. You need your hands. You don't have time to be lifting someone as heavy as you are up a ladder. You now have no hands. Your hands aren't free. That's dangerous. You'll fall.
Right.
So
Right. Sometimes you got to reach back later.
And listen to the other part.
It slows you down, but there's survivor's remorse. They've reached a point where they've left people they love behind, and they struggle to figure out how to maintain those connections, and it becomes hard and it's draining. If you
Survivor's remorse. A few people mentioned that last night. So you're the one that goes to college. The rest of the family don't. You're the one that gets selected to the high school basketball varsity team. Your boys don't. You're the one that meets the girl and goes to prom. Your boys don't. The survivor's remorse, or the successful one's remorse, the winner's remorse, if you will. Speak on that, because that's real. Sometimes the people that aren't necessarily dead weight, they're not dead weight, but they just can't go with you. We talked about Moses going to the mountaintop. Only Joshua could come with him. Everybody else couldn't. Speak to the idea of you're winning, you're successful, you're surviving, you get out, but you had to leave a few people behind in order to get out. And before you can reach back, they may make you feel guilty. Dag Xenos, you left us, man. Who you think you are? You better than us? Oh, you got a PhD. Oh, Dave, who you think you are? You got your little camera. I see your little podcast. And we're just literally out here just trying to succeed, trying to continue. But some people see it as, you left us. Speak on that for a moment.
That goes back to what I said earlier. You have to look at the journey as a solo move. And once you realize it's already been encoded in your DNA where you're going, you'll stop looking for people to come with you, and you'll stop feeling bad for people who couldn't come with you. Now, I will say this. I think there's a part of me as I study more of the Bible where I realize everybody's not equipped. And I think Shiraz said this last night. Everybody's not equipped to do every task. Everybody's not going to be great, however you define that. And so when I say get to the top and reach back, what I'm really saying is, I think something that Jesus was hinting at is that some of us are skilled enough to navigate these unfair systems that exist in the earth that are not created in his image. But then we look at ourselves as being blessed by God or talented, when in actuality, you just have what we call privilege.
Oh,
So,
Lord.
So instead
are we talking about white privilege or just privilege?
Everybody has some measure of privilege, unless you're at the bottom. There's white privilege. There's male privilege. There's athlete privilege. There's pretty privilege. I think you talked about that not too long ago.
Episode 294.
There's rich privilege, which is really what white privilege is, because skin doesn't get you anything, but those greenbacks do. So I know that I'm privileged because I had a 2-parent home. Even though they weren't my parents, they were my grandparents. And some of the things they instilled in me helped me to get to certain places. So now I don't look at it as guilt, but there's a part of me that has to understand everybody couldn't do what I did. So I still need to understand that there's a portion of my success that needs to be given away. And my example is Jesus, who did not consider it as something to be grasped, being equal with the Father, but emptied himself, right, to save souls. So if I can't do the same thing with a small percentage of my money or
Yep.
success or wisdom or knowledge, then I'm missing the point. So
Mm.
don't just get to the top and say, I made it. You know, I grew up in Crenshaw, but now I'm in Hollywood
Bel Air.
Hills, whatever,
Yeah.
Bel Air.
Yeah.
But do something to help. Jesus said, if you've got 2 coats, give one. He didn't say give away your whole wardrobe. He said, yo, if you got 2, give away one. Because ain't nobody wearing 2 coats at the same time anyway.
Well, some people go too far and they give everything, and
Like Hammer.
like we talked about. Okay, great. We talked about Hammer last night. We said MC Hammer in his heyday had 33 million, biggest rap star in the world, and he brought 70 people from his local hood on tour with him, and he employed 70 people. He bought horses. He did videos. He invested in people that maybe they like. I'm not trying to front on anybody in hip hop, but maybe Too Big MC, the hype man, was better as a hype man versus his own solo act. But Hammer invested in his boy, things like that. And some things work, some things don't. The idea I'm kind of getting to is you can try to do too much. Hammer employing 70 people on tour. How long is that 33 million gonna last when you have 70 mouths to feed and your tour is a worldwide tour and you're on tour for a year? So that 33 million is gonna die a lot faster. What you could have done, like you said last night, Zenos, what you could have done is pick the cream of the crop that's shown interest and initiative and say, hey man, I'm going to teach you how to be a tour manager. I'm going to teach you how to produce music. I'm going to put some money into you. And I'm going to teach you how to maintain a business in stage management or artist management, not just get up here and dance and tour and you're performing. I'm going to actually teach you how to do a part of the business. That's the let me teach you how to fish versus let me give you a fish. So I do think we can do too much. And I do think we can. I mean, look, man, the Bible says the poor are with you always, right? Not that we should never help the poor, but we're not going to eradicate poverty, you know? Like our little 6-figure salary or whatever we making, it's not going to eradicate poverty. I could give every dollar I own. And I couldn't even the victims of the fires. I can give every dollar I own, and it might help somebody, but it ain't going to eradicate what damages occurred with the fires. So we have to know what we can do, and we have to have balance. And the idea today that we're breaking down is, dead weight. Stop carrying dead weight. But there are nuances to carrying dead weight. Some people in some situations are not dead weight. It's just things that you have to postpone. I think last night there was a negative concept of dead weight. Last night
Well,
people
it
people
depends.
felt like
I
dead
don't
weight was a bad thing, and the title wasn't to call any individual or
right.
situation dead weight. It was more like what's dragging you yourself down as a person, your success.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was one of the ones making that comment because really, I think the bigger issue is why are they dead weight? Are they dead weight because they don't want to put the effort in? Sure, that's dead weight. Are they dead weight because Hammer, you didn't have any financial education yourself, certainly not anything passed down from generation to generation. And so now you're just trying to give your money away again, instead of putting it into vehicles that would build um, in terms of an investment approach. And so, in a sense, Hammer created his own dead weight by just giving it away instead of allowing them to take it and build. I'd rather you give somebody 20 grand so they can go to college than just give them a car.
Right.
And that's where the issue is.
Right. So let's before you bounce, let's break down the idea of I don't deserve to be in this room. I'm not good enough. Or specifically, you're in the room and someone who's been in the room for years looks at you and says, "Hey, what you doing here? How you getting here? You ain't supposed to be in here." I want to break that down.
Not let people think you do not belong. Once you sit at these tables with folks with fancy titles and you talk to them and you go, oh, they ain't all that. This idea that somehow they are so special, they're so smart, they're so sophisticated. Not really. They've been exposed. They've been given the confidence of feeling like they belong. But if you sit down and talk to them, turns out, that's my point. And the benefit for Michelle and me, because we came up, and at each stage, you know, you go to Harvard and wow, it's Harvard. And then you find out, oh, Harvard's full of some fools and people that you would not put in charge of anything, but they're there. And there's some really amazing, brilliant people too. And then you go to the US Senate and you look around and everybody's represented, smart people and dumb people, good people and bad people. Now suddenly you're meeting at the group of 7 world leaders are all in a room, or the United Nations. And same thing. Turns out that there's some really smart, amazing world leaders, and there's some fools running countries.
Some fools running countries. Good Lord. Let's talk about that, man. The idea that people are in the room pointing at you, Doc. And I say that like Doc, Mr. PhD, Doc. You get in the room. You earned it. You got the PhD. You have the knowledge. You've studied. You've put the time in. And even at your level, some people like, what you doing in here, man? How you get in here? Who do you think you are? Why? Speak on that, man.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, we've talked about this before, where your DNA, right? And I mentioned this earlier, where your DNA is kind of the blueprint for your life. And, you know, my belief is 2 things. First, your DNA is like a passport. If you're in the room, you belong in the room.
Mm.
Or whatever has happened, your DNA was constructed in such a way for you to start in Chicago, move to Atlanta, be in this school, be at GT, be in this class, be confused about thermo,
Yep.
but still make it out.
And then, yeah. Yep.
Now, for me, personally, I went to all black schools until about 6th grade. And then I was in majority white schools. And I was scared. I used to watch Silver Spoons growing up. And they used to open the desk, and those little foam snakes used to come out. And I was like, man, these white kids, they're going to be pranking me. They're going to be laughing.
Mm.
But when I got there and I was like, ah, shoot, man, I can do this. I can keep up. The mystery, the veil has been removed. Like,
Yeah.
I belong because I'm smart. You just have to believe in yourself in those cases and produce.
You know, I think where you come from has a lot to do with it and your constitution. You know, coming up in Chicago, I'll say it. You know, we were taught don't trust white folks, man. We weren't taught to be racist or prejudiced. We were taught to be defensive. Like, hey,
Yep.
that's a stranger. And not only is that a stranger, that's a white stranger from up north. Like, hey, you don't know them people. Half the time they treat us this way in Chicago. So I always had when I walk into a room, I'm looking at people like this.
Eyebrow.
Yep. Like, okay, what you gonna try something? Because I'm ready for you because I heard about you. And hey, look, let's be real. I was also raised south side of Chicago. Hey, I don't know this brother coming up to me. Who is this dude? Hey, bro, who are you? You know, and we didn't speak to people. In the South, hey, neighbor. Hey, how you doing? Hey, good morning.
Yep.
Man, Chicago.
Davis Harris.
Man, look, in Chicago, somebody look at you too much, you like, what's up? What's up? What's up? And it turns into it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
So I guess when I got to Georgia Tech, when I got to majority white high school, because I went to black schools, man, you know what's funny? I went to Catholic school as a young man, first through 5th, black school prior to that. Then I went to black school 6th through 10th. Then I went to majority white school 11th to 12th. So I did the opposite. I went white. I went black, white, black, white. So I had to learn how to adjust. When I went to a white high school, You know, coming from a black high school, coming from Lithonia, going to Tucker, it's like if you weren't a black athlete, you wasn't nothing. If you're a black athlete, you walked on water.
Yep.
If you were just a regular brother, you were almost a threat. Who is this guy? Are you a thug? And because I was taught not to really try to fit in and I was taught to be an individual, I never tried to fit in up there at my high school. I never tried to fit in at Tucker. I met people and I met brothers and sisters that I did get along with, and I fit in with them. I had some white friends that I was cool with, you know what I'm saying? But I never tried to fit into the crew. That's just, even to this day, I pick my friends like you, like Sherrod, and I'm cool with my friends, but I don't have to fit into whatever, if there's a popularity crew, I ain't do that. So for me, I walked in knowing that I was capable and that I could handle things. And yeah, I might not have the background. I might not have the access and the privilege, the Hewlett Packard calculator. I might not have, you know, back in the day, maybe a personal computer, you know, things that privilege got you. I came from poverty. I'm like, but I have a calculator, a small calculator, Casio, sometimes a TI 35, and I have a brain, and I got books. So, like you said, I can go read that book and I can go figure it out, and I'm gonna ask a bunch of questions. And I got charismas, you know. So I ain't scared of people. So I can go up to a professor, hey, Professor such, I don't understand this. Hey, Mr. Upperclassman, Mr. Peer classman, where y'all get this from? I don't understand. Can we talk about this? I had no problem working the system and discussing things and figuring it out. And I never, you know, I did struggle at times feeling like maybe these people are smarter or better. But for the most part, I didn't let that stop me, because I never really felt like someone was better. I felt like they had access. So I was like, I always said this, because I had a white guy tell me at my job when I got out of college, why don't black people just pull them up by their bootstraps? I said, what bootstraps? When you weren't allowed to read, to communicate with your neighbor, when you were snatched from your family, and when systematically for 400 years, you didn't have the foundations. I don't have Harvard. I don't have Ivy League access. I don't have years and years of foundations of colleges that you guys, my daddy's daddy didn't go to college like yours did. My daddy's daddy was a slave, and so was my daddy's daddy, and so possibly was my, you know, like, come on, y'all. And then we had to deal with segregation. So I was like, I hear what you're saying, but black folks haven't had the same opportunities or foundation.
Opportunities.
So the bootstraps you're telling me to pull up are a lot smaller than yours. So now, granted, we in 2024, I understand we're past some things and progress has been made. So I'm not making an excuse. What I'm saying is, I knew that if I had the same opportunities other people had, I was going to knock the door down and hit a home run. So
yeah.
I never was worrying about, do I fit in? I was like, y'all just ain't ready for me.
Right.
I'll tell you about yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, did we miss anything else that we need to break down from that episode last night?
That's good.
That's it. All right, y'all. Hey, look, that's the breakdown, man. It's Dave and Zenos. And we see y'all on the next episode of the breakdown. Make sure you watch the After Dark podcast so you can get all the details. That episode was Stop Carrying Dead Weight. Your success depends on it. All right. Peace.